Turn this audio on. All right, we're live here, and then I'm going to switch it over to the main side. Should be able to see us. Oh, there we are.
Yep, I hear you fine. I wonder how I'm gonna come across. Let's see.
Yeah. So, welcome everyone to VR Jungle. This is the very first episode, and I'm here with Ben from Vertical Shift. Basically, he is creating or it is in development, and it's also you can play it right now, which he'll probably tell you where you can get it. But it's an indie game, and he'll have to tell you exactly what type of it is. We were just talked about it. It's not considered a full-on first-person shooter. So, Ben, if you want to go more into it, explain yourself in this game and what it's actually type of game it is.
Absolutely. First off, thank you for having me on your first podcast here. I really appreciate it. Again, you said my name is Ben. I'm Ben. I work on the team with Vertical Shift, making Vertical Shift, and so this game is an online multiplayer competitive esport game targeted towards the VR esports market. That's a lot of words jumbled right there. Basically, what it is a really competitive VR game at its high level. To break it down, we have a couple of mechanics, kind of like grapple hooks and jetpacks and some other kind of useful mechanics like there. And your main functions, which is our tag EMP blaster, which basically lets you freeze enemies and stuff like that. And so our game entitles, we have a kind of a campaign mission area, and then we have 4 game modes, with one of them being freeze tag, our main competitive game mode. In fact, I could probably, depending on how you stuff set up, I could send you over the trailer if you wanted to play it or not.
Actually, yeah, if you want to do the trailer, that'd be great. While we're talking, if you can pull that aside, I didn't even think about that. That's pretty. I could definitely get that going.
Yeah, I can pull it up right now. I'll shoot you a
But
link.
I'm kind of glad that you said that little name, that because imagine saying that like 10 times in a meeting or in a conference, like.
Oh yeah, it gets you get it down once you say it a couple of times in a day. And I also just DM'd you the link.
Yeah, cool.
But yeah, so overall, as he gets played, trailer pulled up there. Basically, we are set in a sci-fi world where stuff has gone downhill, you could say, and some corporations have taken over running the new area in living space. And basically, even some players adapted into the resistance using something called Xenosuits, which is kind of basically the device that enables all the players to really just kind of get all these kind of, you could say, powers or abilities to kind of do this grappling, jetpacks and stuff like that. It's a really interesting experience, I'd say, being in VR itself.
Oh yeah, and I've played it personally myself. And definitely, it's not something that I know that I've played before, and I could definitely say that I've never picked up a game like this is the same. It's its own entity because, playing like a game like Population 1, it's a battle royale. Playing a game like Larcenauts, it's like Overwatch, like the similarities. So your game alone, like hands down, is a unique own game. My wife must have turned my girl in. So, but playing that alone, flying around and slinging around is just, it blew my mind. I literally felt like I was like a superhero, like, Iron Man and Superman combined at once, just freaking going at it. And I do like say, like, when you're playing this game, it's like, I usually never get motion sickness, but one time when I was playing the very first time, I was talking with Mystics, one of the people that are on my team. He goes, "Take it easy." And I go, "Oh, I'm fine. I've jumped into stuff like this all the time." And we're jumping around, zipping, and I'm flying. I'm just like, okay. I'm all over the place.
Oh, yeah.
So I really like that.
That's awesome. I'm super stoked to hear all that. So this experience, when me and Sean kind of looked at in the beginning, for Sean's perspective, it was, a game like no other that he's ever. He found a hole in a market of a game he wanted to play, and he couldn't find it. And I wanted to build a cool VR game. So we just kind of got together and started working on that and carving that experience. And it really is something else when you hop in that and you're flying around at speeds around buildings. It's really cool.
Oh yeah. Like, especially playing the one where you're in the open city and everything, and you're flying around and you're like zipping through stuff. I'm like, that was pretty cool. 'Cause it's almost like you're super high up in a futuristic world where you no longer see the ground anymore, and it's just like you're flying around trying to get people. And so it's
absolutely.
Really entertaining.
Yeah, it really shows the kind of the minutes of how small you are in this area, because as you like zip around, you're using jetpacks, there's cars zooming by you and a bunch of other things going on to where you really just got to like get really maneuverable and agile.
Yeah.
But it makes it really fun.
And so are those the only game modes you're sticking with right now? Is there maybe one that you're favoring over the other, you know, like that you think like, oh, when it comes down to like making this really big, are you going to be like, this is the game this game mode we're going to usually be the forefront of what our game is going to be?
Absolutely. Yeah. So each game mode has a reason it's in place. And I can go over all of that. So overall, our game started out as a freeze tag team-based game, and that was it.
Okay.
We wanted to get the grapple hooks down. We wanted to get the jetpacks down. We did the gliding, if you take your arms out and like tilt and stuff like that. Got that stuff down and started playing with that. We put out some maps and just kind of started messing with really more of geometry instead of art, because geometry is what carves the map and what gives the map each feel. And so as we got that down, we were like, all right, it's going to be a 5v5, a 10-man VR game. That's still kind of difficult unless you're a really big game at the moment.
Yeah.
So we've gone from a 10, we've had a 10v10. And then from there, we're like, all right, well, we need like a lobby area, or we want some kind of place the players can kind of chill out and learn and hang out and practice. And so that was just kind of our generic lobby. And this generic lobby, which has now been replaced by our main city and given a huge story and missions and all that, originally just used to be kind of just a default space of maybe 25 buildings. And those rings, the race rings, we just had a race course that you could just run the race.
Okay.
And so the race rings actually kind of came to life from just, hey, we want something, a nice carved out path around the city that the player can kind of just follow and kind of get better at going around and going around. So that's where the kind of origin of those race checkpoints came from. Eventually we moved on and replaced that with our huge city that came out. And that has a bunch of missions in it. And those missions are basically all carved to help the player learn how to do specific mechanics. So like our drone mission where you're chasing the drone destroyers, that's better at kind of, hitting targets in the sky that are already moving. Or, our jail where you're avoiding lasers to try to get to the top to help everybody get out. You're avoiding like kind of static objects instead of going towards them. And then our race is, checking how good you are at combining and managing resources, and kind of goes on like that. And that's kind of where the city turned into in this big open world space. And there's more reasons for it as well. But basically, after freeze tag, we ran into hot seat. And hot seats, Sean created it basically going after if we didn't have a full set of 10 or, of 6 people to do 3v3s, hot seat, you could take 3 to 6 people in if you really wanted to. But what that does is now, all right, well, let's say I don't have my 10 friends on or my 6 friends on. I can take my 4 friends on and we can go into hot seat and still play together and still get good and get agile at the game, managing resources and stuff like that. Infection kind of came along the same way, about just kind of another game mode besides hot seat that you don't need 6 players, you just get 4 or so. And then race is race, and we just kind of wanted to throw in race, so we threw in race. But to answer that question with a lot of all the, the long answer I'm giving here is basically freeze tag is our primary game mode out there, but we also have an extensive single player, and we also have some other multiplayer game modes to go with.
Okay, so freeze tag is your main one. Because, so is that the one you guys push more towards, like, tournaments? Because I know that you guys had a tournament. That's basically the only game you guys played within that tournament, correct? Yeah,
so we've done 4 tournaments or 5 tournaments so far. I'd have to check, but we've actually cycled out each game mode. We've done a race tournament. We've done a hot seat tournament. But the plan is to stick with, like, freeze tag is the tournament or is the game mode we're going to go with. Because it's team based and, you can do a lot of different stuff in there. You can draw a lot of different types of teams, switch players around, that changes the dynamic, everything, the whole 9 yards of all esports most people are familiar with. And there's a lot of team play with roles and just kind of all that stuff I could get into, but it has the most depth and dynamics out of all the other games.
Yeah. So, I'm going to go ahead and see if I can't pull up this, this trailer that you sent me.
Okay.
Let me pull over here. Oh, geez. Trying to get it to go to the actual website, so I'm not showing my Discord.
Fair enough.
Goodies I get to do as a founder of Havoc.
That's fair.
All right, so over here. Hopefully we can hear it through my speaker. Hopefully someone else can hear. You don't hear an echo?
I don't hear. Well, actually, let me see if I hear it. I hear it through your mic.
I don't know. what that is. Like, why do they gotta be ads? Just give me what I want. So let me go ahead and. It should be. There we go. And if people can't hear this, then obviously the background. It is pretty good soundtrack with it.
Yeah. You could put the if you want, just drop the YouTube link in Twitch chat too as well.
Yes, yeah, very good point. I forget I keep doing them on that thing as well. Yeah, and there's the city right there, and there's the racing. That's what I was saying to everybody I was talking about. That.
Oh yeah, that's feels like the hundreds, maybe thousands of feet.
Yeah, there it is. Hopefully they can hear it. If not, I did post it in the Twitch link there as a link. Close window here. All right, let's go back to us. All righty. So yeah, so how many times have you guys been put that together? Like, has that video developed into something different than what it originally was, or
the trailer itself?
Yeah, the trailer itself.
Yeah, so me and Hugh is or he's taking a break now, but he was our primary community manager and tournament organizer. We used to live together at college. We dormed at the same apartment, and so we would actually most of the time do our iterations together. But prior to that, it would lead out to kind of like not a whiteboard that size, but we would whiteboard it out, storyboard it to kind of say, all right, our trailer, what is our game?
Yeah.
All right, well, we have packs, we have a city, we have single player, we have 4 multiplayer game modes. How do we want to block this together, and what order do we want to show it in? And so we would do that, shuffle the blocks around on the whiteboard, and then just kind of go get that content with a set out shot list, and then kind of take it into the editor and just kind of hope everything falls into place.
Yeah.
And that's helped with kind of our update videos, because we've actually, for our big updates, we try and release a new video with it, the trailer with it. And not necessarily in the format of here's our update video, but here's the current state of Vertical Shift. And so we've had to make 3 or 4 of those videos itself. But we've tried and followed most of that format, so we can just kind of swap the old footage out with the new footage and just kind of make it real quick, because most of excuse me, like for example, if I'm doing a lot of video editing or something like that, I'm also deving the game, so I gotta spend that time on the game and kind of hop over and efficiently make the video and stuff like that. So a couple meetings for a few weeks, and then 4 or 5 hours to get everything set up and rendered.
You ever get a panel of people that sit around and you say, hey, watch this video? Like, do you take random people off the stream, like, give me your opinion?
Yeah, we've actually I can send this over to Ultra Mini Pants. His name's Zach, in our he does our QA and some other very useful stuff for us, and we'll kind of put together a survey. Or I think we have a group of us that put together surveys. We have Lauren, Zach, and Sean. They'll put together one. I have to, so I'll be biased, and so they'll send the survey out. We'll get like as many people as we can to respond to the survey, what they thought about it, certain parts of the video, asking questions like, do you know what this game's about, or like very obvious, like what's the main point of this game, stuff like that. And if it can't get conveyed through that trailer, we just redraft it how we can. So yeah, there is when there's time, we do go through that iterative process.
Yeah. So where can people that are watching this or soon be watching it in the future and stuff, where can they like pick up this game? How can they download it? How can they, say they get down for like, oh, I watched that trailer, just hearing you talk, like you're a cool dude. I just want to play this game now. So, yeah, go ahead.
So to play the game, we are currently on itch.io for PC users, and we're on SideQuest for our Quest users. The quickest way to get to us, honestly, is our link tree, which just going into the browser and typing in verticalshift.net/links, which I can honestly, I'll just post in the chat real quick. That seems to be kind of leads you to, I've been timed out. That's funny. I'll just DM it to you. That's fine. But yeah, so SideQuest and itch.io are pretty solid places. We have download links in our Discords, but I'm not going to push anybody there yet. But our link tree kind of has all of our most useful links of where following us on any socials and stuff like that. Most importantly, the download links.
Okay, so yeah, I'll post this on there in a second here. Because I'm trying to I have Discord turned off on my thing, so I'll do it through my phone while we get into other subjects
no worries
and stuff. At all. So with Vertical Shift and stuff, and I just heard you mention that you were rooming with a lot of people in college. So is this the continuation of a friendship going into this game, or like how's that working out? Like who's your whole development team? Are they just friends, or are they just people?
Yeah, I can go through all of that. Yeah. So basically everybody, all the devs on the team went to the same college. I say devs specifically because we have our QA and we have our, I call them our businessmen, did not go to KSU. They went to other colleges.
Yeah.
But so our developers, so me, Sean, Connor, Dave, another Connor for a while, and Chandler. Chandler's not a dev, but he's with us. All went to Kennesaw State. And so we met as freshmen, sophomore-ish. Most of these guys I knew by the midway through freshman year. And then basically we just chatted. We had mostly the same classes together because we all went for game design degrees. And so we just chatted, always hung around, became a pretty tight friend group, or two split kind of friend. We were just kind of just a bunch of college friends, basically.
Yeah.
And so as it went on, maybe junior year, me and Sean kind of got an idea and just kind of started chatting while we were at the gym. And we were just kind of like, hey, I want to build this type game in VR. And then he was just going, yeah, let's build this thing. Let's try this. So we just started chatting, started talking. And so me and Sean initially started this project up as just a side thing. It wasn't called Vertical Shift. We didn't know there was going to be tagging in it.
Yeah.
We were just, I want to be able to fly around and grapple on things. Yeah. Okay, you're really good at some back end stuff. Let's get together and do it. So we did that, and we sat in Sean's living room and worked together on it for a few months, and then we took a 4-month break because it was just a side project. It wasn't as important to us. But back in October of 19, we started picking it up again and started putting some time into it. At this point, it was still me and Sean. And then around January 2020, I think we picked up Connor and Jacob. Jacob does all of our UX, so all those menus and stuff you go through. He solely works on those. Connor at the time did our QA, so we were a 4-man band, just kind of working on there. And then we just kind of worked there. Our friends knew what we were working on. They kind of sat in sideline. There was no, oh, we need this many more people yet. It was like Jacob and Connor, I think, were either in our class, or it was just, they were just kind of like, hey, I want to do some stuff. I was like, all right, cool. Yeah, let's do it. And then just kind of as we went on, we added more of our friends, shuffled some positions around. And so our group's still in school, finishing up their last semester. And so it was just kind of a group of friends that just kind of took a side project and expanded it and kept going and going, turned it into a full studio and company.
Yeah, so that was going to be my next question. So you guys are a full-blown company now. Do you guys probably still do side stuff, or is this your main thing? You might even expand, consider your branding a publisher at some point, or will you expand to it, or is it just going to be vertical?
So right now, our company, as Corrupted Media, our title and sole thing that we're making right now is Vertical Shift. And so we don't have any current plans of doing any side stuff as of the moment. We're kind of putting all of our time and effort and resources into this. At an individual basis of side projects, some of our devs are trying to do stuff. like just for fun side practice. Because whenever there's for me, I find the difference in programming with like the project. Like it's great for a few years, then it's like it feels like work again.
Mm-hmm.
Some of our devs go and do some side projects that you can work at your own pace. There's no timeline. It's relaxing, helps you learn stuff like that. I would love personally. I don't have any more time to do any of that because my side project became my like hanging around full time kind of stuff, or just my full time project to work on. But as far as that, we're basically fully invested into VS at the moment.
Very cool. Man, I had a question about that too. So with you all coming out of college and stuff, you guys like you seem like maybe you guys get too close in the business world. Like, how do you build a dynamic on that with people you've been all the way from college? And now you guys are becoming, older people trying to, have bigger dreams. And sometimes like some person might eventually solve this as a hobby. Like, do you ever see anyone get burned out, or like you just like, what do you do with that? Work ethics.
So, burnout is first of all, a real thing. Most people experience it a couple of times, no matter what they do. So we, as of now, I think at least half of our team has full-time jobs. Mm-hmm. Once they got out of college, not long after, full-time jobs. It became a lot different as like we are basically we did start up, we did get we got invested and started taking things like super seriously. We're running this to make it big. Mm-hmm. It's kind of where we're at. As far as like managing burnout and kind of like how we work together, recently we've kind of put some like plans in place to just kind of manage how we do our like sprints is a very normal thing to do. You take a bite-sized 2-week chunk and you work at that. And then just kind of assess where you are at the end of the 2 weeks and then make adjustments as necessary. So that's something we've done in the past. We've done a few times. I think actually a week or so ago, we took a full week off just to reset our brains after getting 2.4. Because we did 2.4, and then the next day we did a tournament, which was the last tournament. Yeah. And that was some of our devs, myself included, I think did about, with like maybe an hour or so of sleep thrown in there, about 28 hours straight of just, and that was pre-tournament. And then we went and did the tournament. So like that was definitely unhealthy. But it was kind of one of those, it came down to grind as much as we could have done it. As much time as we tried to put it in, prevent those stuff, it just happens. But we've started addressing and kind of reaching out and finding ways that we can kind of help, help with burnout with either ourselves or just kind of others. But just kind of honestly managing sprints and knowing what you're going to set out and build has helped us for the long run as over 3 years, I'd say.
Yeah. So when do you think this game, like I don't really know how it all works out, but when would it see it on Steam or on like the Oculus alone? Like is there certain hoops you guys have to jump in on those platforms or like how does that work out?
Yeah, so Steam and Oculus, we have plans, or App Lab, I'll say, we have plans for both. I'll say, do you want more of, as far as timeline, we are in the works of doing it, but I'm not going to announce when. But there's a long process. Like App Labs takes like 3 months. We've been working on App Labs for like 2 or 3 months. And we actually had, I think one of our denials was they didn't like one of our logos in our trailers. So the whole thing got blocked.
Interesting.
And so it's just kind of process, making sure we have everything exactly how everybody wants it. We plan on taking it to Steam and App Lab as we continue our beta testing to kind of help us reach more users and stuff like that.
So is App Lab the same as Oculus Store, or is that different?
So App Lab is different than Oculus Store, but it's kind of the same thing.
Like
confusing. Basically what it means is App Lab is like SideQuest if Facebook built it for their own platform. Okay. However, you cannot browse App Lab games. You can only search the title of a game you're looking for on App Lab. Mm-hmm. So SideQuest is now becoming a host of people put their games on there, and then it links to App Lab. And then it's saying, hey, you want this game? Cool. Well, we're also on App Lab. And then you can just go do your, Vertical Shift. Okay, type in Vertical Shift in your Oculus Quest and then download it there. However, it will actually show up in your game library. You know, no longer have to go down to unknown sources and do all that stuff. It's more, basically, it's just more in the system, but you can't browse App Lab games because they haven't been approved for the Oculus Store. So it's just kind of their like DMZ zone of just, here's some games that devs are trying to test. We want you guys to have access to them, or you may think there's a lack of content. Yeah. Play them here, basically, is where that is. So those are two different things. in a way, but it's just really just a step in the development process of getting your game on the Oculus Store.
Mm-hmm. So with that, is there like any headset or any browser that you found that fits like more, like it performs better? Like say like just a Quest 2 alone, it's a single alone. It sits on your face. You don't have a computer powering the whole entire your whole entire experience. But unlike the Vive and stuff like that, you need a PC in order to actually play it. So have you seen anything that's kind of like this lacks here to there, or is it just pretty much smooth all across the board? Because I've heard, yeah.
Is this talking specifically VS or just headsets in general?
Just like headsets in general.
Okay, yeah. So I actually have very specific use cases I would use each individual headset. So as you can see, I have a few Quest 2s behind me, Vive chilling right here. So those are the two I mostly spend most of my time on. But I think each of those, whether you're doing standalone or PC, it varies on what you want, in my personal experience. So if you're not into, a lot of games, that probably means you either don't have a console or you don't have a gaming computer or something like if you're not super, super into it or stuff like that, you might not have one of those, right? In that case, Quest 2, beautiful headset.
Yeah.
It's, I'm not going to go over all the specs and that stuff, but it's, you can travel with it. You can link it to your PC if you wanted to. It's the new one stores like 128 gigabytes. I think the default one's like stored 64, but like super good headset for just, I want to get into VR without spending a lot of money. Beautiful choice. Now, PC, I think is where like some of the novelists go, that they want, like the Index when it first came out with their 2K, their 2K resolution and your finger tracking, like controllers with the pressure senses and stuff like I know Quest does some hand tracking, but you can't really play a lot of games that way. So like the novelists that want full body tracking on their feet, hey, get some, I want to go pick up and carve a PVC gun and put some motion trackers on it, stuff like that. That's what the PC people want. Personally, I'm going to use a game, Pavlov and Beat Saber, as my two examples here.
Okay.
So the main difference between the nowadays standalone headsets and the PC headsets are external tracking and internal tracking. External being the Vive and the Index, and the old Rift having these little lighthouse towers. Have mine on a stand. But basically, where's my camera? This thing. It's kind of sitting around right here, right? And so those have to be around your room in order to track your controllers and the headset itself. So like whether it's your Vives and things like that. So internal is obviously on the Quest is just doing inverted. So it's keeping its orientation based off objects in the room. So you want a lot of contrast.
Yeah.
Where the other one is needed. So the reason I bring up Pavlov and Beat Saber, I had problems on the Quest 2 sometimes about keeping my hands super low. So what I would do is I would stare forward, and then I could move my arms really fast, and stuff like that. But sometimes I'd move out of my tracking zones too long back here.
Yeah.
And when I'd play linked Pavlov to the PC, maybe I'm a noob at it, but when I scope with the sniper, I personally bring the gun up to the headset. So if I'm wearing the headset, it's right here, because that gives you the biggest circle to look down the scope.
Yeah. So
I would just and scoom in and kind of do this. However, when you do that on the Quest 2, you're blocking a tracking port and it stops tracking. This controller shuts out. So you get really close and you can go behind your back and have none of that problem because you're tracked all around. And that for me caused some problems linking on the Quest 2. But Quest 2, again, it's a standalone headset. You're probably, you can use it for competitive, definitely, depending on the game, I think. At least my feeling, but like, for example, that thing, maybe I'm doing it wrong or something, because I didn't play a lot of Pavlov. I maybe have 50 hours or something in it over like 4 or 5 years. But the difference between the tracking, I always think it's just what experience you want. I like the outbound trackers. I know a lot of people are moving to the Quest 2. I love the Quest 2 as well, but it really just depends on what I'm trying to do. If I'm playing either casual or if I'm playing competitive, but I don't need to run around my room and stuff, like the Quest is good. You can still move around on the Quest, but I just like the trackers. But it's a lot more hardware, and that's why the Quest 2 kind of comes in. Yeah,
and you have to have like a dedicated room. It's like if you have a family running around, you have 3 kids. I mean, Those things
Absolutely.
look very easily broken.
Absolutely. Yeah. So it's just like, it's kind of, it goes based off what experience you want. If you want to do, a lot of external tracking and stuff like that, or you want to, get really, really, and, you don't mind the wires, you want to be able to, make sure you can have your hands behind your back the whole time and you have a whole dedicated room and space, PC.
Yeah.
If you don't, and maybe sometimes you do, and maybe you want to move around and you're in college, you want to go to your or something like that, Quest 2.
Hmm.
So both great headsets. I just kind of jump between what I am looking for.
But do you think maybe the Quest 2 sometimes, especially with these bigger games, before a lot of people were just like, oh, these games are no more than a gig, if that. So now they're starting to get heavier on the gigs. More, you're pulling in more data when you're playing the game. Do you think that maybe eventually the Quest 2 will need a heavier, CPU built in internally to it, or like how's it going to eventually take on bigger games that are going to be
So that's
coming
that's
out?
interesting question. So Facebook, or I guess Oculus in this case, is super hard on developers about meeting their specifications,
Hmm.
because if you don't meet the specifications, you won't get on their platform. So in that case, you will only see games that supposedly run well on that platform. And so I imagine they have some type of gig cap or something. I know, like, you can only take, at least for us, for Unity, I think we can't go above like 2.3 gigs of RAM is all we get allocated for our entire game. And if
Really?
we hit it, the game crashes. If we get close, it runs slow. And so a lot of stuff like that is making sure we stay within their stuff like that. So what's interesting is, their games are staying super low in gigs. And so, like that the default ones are 64 gigs, right?
Yeah.
So I don't really have a perfect use case from my perspective as a developer, because honestly, I spend all day in VR. When I'm done for the day, I don't go put my free time into VR. I go outside
Yeah.
or something.
Yeah.
As much as it sounds like, I'm an avid gamer and I play a lot of games, but when I do VR all day, I don't find myself jumping in VR headsets. So for me, I have headsets that have vertical shift on them, and then maybe Larcenauts and Population One.
Hmm.
And so, like, I have those, and I play those when friends invite me to go play them. But that's not more than 4 or 5 gigs on a 64 gig headset.
Yeah.
But so I'm curious to see what percentage of the population actually reaches the 64 gig capacity on headsets. Because if we're talking, that's 64 games. Let's say they're all $30. Pull out a calculator real quick.
Quite a
That's,
bit.
somebody who's bought a headset. So I'll add $300.
Uh-huh.
That's somebody who's invested $2,200 into their Quest 2. If
Yeah.
they, let's say, a gig per game, 64 games plus the headset, at
Yeah.
that point, you've probably bought half the top AAA games on the market.
Hmm.
And,
And the reality is, if half the time, if you're gonna get a new game, you can just delete one you don't play anymore.
Exactly,
It's like,
and they're small. So like, if your internet's not that fast, it may only take 10 minutes to get you a game down, which isn't really that bad considering console games that had, 100 gig updates and stuff like that. It's like, oh, I only got to wait 10 minutes. Well, GTA 5 3 years ago, it took me 15 minutes to get to the loading screen. So
mhm.
that's something I'd be used to. And so, yeah, I mean, even just game swapping is something I think is feasible.
Yeah, and I know I got the bigger one when it first came out. For one, it was when you couldn't buy anything; it was the only thing that was left. So I was just like, whatever, I'll buy it. I want something because I
Yeah,
couldn't get the PlayStation 5 at the time. And like I've noticed in the data, like I'm almost already to where a standard would be, just because there's an area in there that says like this is where your headset's like memory space is at, or like data that you're downloading. I don't know what it is, but it's like it's quite a bit. It's like 20 gigs of it.
yeah. Oh wow, that's a good amount though. But I bet you play a lot of VR games. I'd imagine like a lot.
Oh, I play. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's the only thing I do anymore is just VR games. So, I'm probably playing VR games. Oh, on a day that I work, probably like 4 to 6 hours every night.
that's awesome. Yeah.
So,
Oh, I've been playing a lot of Splitgate, which is just on regular PC, to kind of go away from these like staring in it for like doing which we'll have to jump into that, but testing bugs, like graphical bugs in VR, are some of the craziest things you'll ever see.
oh really?
Yeah, like we've had like cars flying at us, and I've seen like I was trying to build some type of simulation thing in a different project and had like a building come fall by accident. or something like that.
Really, like that blows my mind that you can literally be making something and then if it crashes, it just like crumbles right in front of your face.
Yeah, our for VS, the one I always say is we had a bug with our cars that when the host changed, the cars no longer knew where to go, so they would go to the origin. And for the origin actually happened to be where we lined up the player spawn.
Uh-huh.
And so all the cars would ignore building collisions, and probably 200 of them from every angle, above, below, etc., would just fly at you, and you have full scale dump trucks. And the cars you see now in the same city would actually just come and try and kill you. And I remember sitting in Discord with Sean and the rest of the team and just like panic and like, oh my gosh, and saying those things. And it's just like, I just gonna put in a ticket and not open the editor for the next hour.
That'd be kind of terrifying. That's the very first thing you see when you load in a game is a huge dump truck come right at your face.
Oh yeah, it would ask QA at all. They would have come yelling at us. But yeah, no, like stuff like that though. It's really fun. Just kind of all the type, like you see someone your scale and then like they stretch for like 30 feet because of maybe the controller
Uh-huh.
lost tracking and it thinks it's 40 feet wide or something like that. There's just a lot of fun stuff in VR that you can toy around with when things go wrong.
Yeah. So you seem like you're pretty into it and you know a lot about it, but no, like, what's your origin story?
This is where I was going to say it might sound
Yeah.
really anticlimactic. Yeah. So, let's see, what year was this? I'm going to say ninth grade of high school. So let's say like 8-ish years ago, 2013, 14. Joined high school, or went from middle school to high school. Didn't really have any plans what I wanted to do, like, even in college, post college, all that stuff
Mm-hmm.
at that point in time, where I was very close to deciding. And so at that time, I was in drumline. I did swim team. And so I was booked 7 days a week. If it wasn't swim team practice, it was drumming practice. If it wasn't, if it was a swim meet, then we went to a show right afterwards. So it was just
Mm-hmm.
full. And I was in like a Rush cover band and all that. So like just a lot of time being spent on activities, being outside. Nothing wrong with it, all cool, like stuff like that. So some changes made where a lot of that time drastically dropped. I ended up quitting swim team for like a year or something. Anyways, so I suddenly had a lot of free time on my hands, and I was just kind of like, how am I going to fill this space?
Yeah.
And so I kind of went home. I was playing like some Gary's Mod or some of the games that I could get my hands on Steam. And at that time, I had a ThinkStation. I think it's in actually the other room still. It had like 12 gigs of DDR3 and a Xeon CPU, some interesting. It had NVIDIA Quadro 2000, just some older stuff.
Yeah.
And so I kind of just went to Google and I was like, how to make game enter. And this is where I said it's very anticlimactic and I just never turned back. But went from there, looked up, I downloaded Game Maker Studio, and started messing around with 2D, learning their open language and stuff like that. And eventually I got tired of that. I made like the duck hunt simulators that you find at arcades, that like not like with a physical gun, but like with just a mouse keyboard.
Yeah.
And then eventually I was like, all right, I'm tired of, studio. I want to do 3D stuff. What's a 3D engine? How to make 3D game. Unity 5 pops up on my screen. I'm like, all right, cool. Started going through like 8 hours a day of YouTube videos after school when I'd come home, and just how to do this, how to build that, how to mess with cameras, how to move a player, how to detect this, that,
Yeah.
how to manage points in a backend system, just all of that stuff. Just any YouTube Unity tutorial I came across, I'd build a small project with it. And from there, I, started jumping around and stuff. And I was like, all right, I'd make a little project here. Now I wasn't finishing any games. And so I was like, I want to go make a game and finish it all the way through. And so I ended up making a game called Falling Grounds. And it was a platformer, had like for your phone, like it's not like Doodle Jump where you're supposed to go up as much as possible. Have you ever heard of that mobile jump? You sometimes see it in arcades and stuff like that.
Yeah, is it like I've heard of it. It's almost like that Flappy Bird thing where you like
except you're going vertical.
Yeah.
So
okay.
Mine was the opposite. You want to get down as fast as possible.
Okay.
Like you were timed to just once you hit the bottom, you got to play. And there was like 48 levels or something like that. I made all of them. My source control was terrible. My modular code was terrible, but I made it all the way through and made it onto the App Store. My dad said if I finished the game, he'd publish it for me, like on the App Store. Like he'd pay the dev license, which I think was $100 at the time.
Yeah.
And I did it, and that was my first kind of complete solo project all the way through. It's not up there anymore because I haven't maintained that game in like 6 years.
Okay, I think
But
I played a game like that before. Now that I think about it.
but yeah, so it was just kind of like that was my first project from there. From there, I started just dabbling and doing other stuff. And again, just kind of back to anything I could learn, I'd make a project. Like if I learned Cinemachine is something, it's a component in Unity for doing cinema. Basically, the spectator system all uses Cinemachine and a lot of custom cinematics and real time cinematics. I built a game that literally just used all that stuff just to learn it, and just did a lot of stuff like that. Um, and so this kind of just kept progressing.
Mm-hmm.
I just kind of kept building on it. Senior year of high school, my buddy Alec, his dad gave him an HTC Vive headset.
Okay.
I had no idea what an HTC Vive headset was, and he
Yeah.
said it's a VR, and I said, "What the hell is a VR?" Yeah, and so he brings this headset over to me, and he's like, "Yeah, it's been in the box for about 8 months. I don't have a computer that can use it."
Uh-huh.
So at that time, I had that ThinkStation I had upgraded with a 1060 in it. Not a bad card for its time. I think the 1080 was like one of the bigger market ones out. And so we came together, my tower, his headset, and we plugged it up in the basement and we put it on for the first time. And we were just like staring at the steam, the stars and the mountains, like the very steam, like the very first thing you see when like the game's was. We just stared at that for like 20 minutes. And we were instantly just kind of like, oh my God, how long has this existed?
Right.
And so instantly kind of basically fell in love with it there. We played a bunch of games. I think Pavlos was out at the time. It was really, really early on. Like before, it was like $10 at the time. Pavlos 6 or something. He's made so much more content. So like I said, I'm not going to go super detailed. But yeah, we went back and forth playing games, and I spent a spring break actually moving to Unreal to build VR games in Unreal. And I built like mini games, like had 2 conveyor belts with a green and a red block. And I actually have videos of this. I built like anti-gravity Jenga. Just all I could in VR to get my hands on it so I can say, I messed with it and built it. And then eventually he actually just, we got busier finishing up school, and he was just like, you can have the headset for a bit. And so he left it at my house, and I taught myself Unity VR with it through Steam VR. Do you know The Lab by Steam? It's where they have like the boat. Yeah, it's like one of their very free demo. Like basically, Steam got a bunch of development teams, had them build just crazy things, and VR is like, go figure out, build something cool with this. Go figure out, and they just kind of mashed it all into one project and released it for free to be like, this is VR. So they actually built it all in Unity, and they released a Steam download or a package you could import to Unity and mess with the mechanics that they released in that game.
Oh, that's cool.
And so digging through their scripts, their prefabs, how they did sounds, how they checked, raycast, which is basically like, if I look right here and go forward forever, what am I going to hit? That's how Bullet works. When someone says, what's it called? What's the 2 different? Yeah. So started digging into that. And then I went off in Unreal again and did I built a horror game for competition in Skills USA, ended up getting first in Georgia.
Oh, that's cool.
And just kind of confirming, it's like, okay, I think I can do this game dev stuff. And I was like, this is where I want to be. I want to do programming and do stuff like that. So by like junior year, going into senior year, I was confident that it's like, this is what I want to do. Now VR was still early for me in that time. I messed with it senior year. I did a little bit of those time games, stuff like that. And then going into college, I think it was around college, right before college, I was gifted a headset for Christmas. So the Vive that I have now.
Yeah.
I just got for Christmas to use. My dad's like, I got it because you said you wanted to have for it and play some games on it. The first like 6 months, I did hardly any dev for it. And I really just played games on it because I was super excited to have my own.
Yeah.
But then it led into more, all right, I'm ready to go build stuff now that I've experienced what it's about. And so going into college, it just kind of really settled into this is grind time. And like I want to get better. If it's not VR, it's getting better at Unity. If it's not Unity, it's how do I create audio dynamically for my game? Just anything I could do, get my hands on. Just started working on it and just kind of kept progressing. And then I started to surround myself with people like Sean, who kind of maybe not had the same origin story, but had the same kind of willpower for it. And and I made a bunch of like different like practice projects for school because that's all our major was, building games. But then Vertical Shifts kind of came into play around junior year kind of going into that. And then that's just kind of when me and Sean took off of both just kind of, we want to learn, we want to build something, we're here to do it. And so it's just kind of kept going from there. As far as that.
So, what'd you go to college for development?
Yeah. So I went for, actually I have my degree behind me. So it's computer game design and development was my major. And then I got 2 minors, one in software engineering and then a minor in software development. And so, yeah, it was all CS focused, game development focused class, you know, how to do agile development, how to work with people to build, you know, scripts that depend on each other and how to build a proper game that feels good to players.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what all that study was. And that's where I met all the guys that I'm with today.
So like, was there any class for like a capstone class where you had to come together and create a game? Was that like a scenario that was ever in college?
Yes. And we actually convinced our professors to let us do vertical shift. So we didn't have to,
okay.
So we didn't want to take on another project and have to like lend development over to work on this school project that we would just stop working on once the semester's over for a grade. And the same, you have the same few professors the entire 4 years. So they knew me, they knew Sean, and they stuff like that. So they knew we weren't screwing around. Like they knew we were going to do it and they knew we were going to work really hard on it. So some of the studios, they're like, you need to start from nothing. Excuse me. You need to start from nothing and you need to rebuild. And we're just kind of like, you know, Sean did his studio 2 and for vertical shift. And then I did my studio 1 with Dave and Connor. And that's when single player was born. But basically what it was is, all right, I'm taking this 4 credit hour class, but I reality just have to work on this game just as hard as I was planning on working on it before.
Yeah.
Except I have to write some special documentation to meet their needs to prove that we're doing the work. And so, yeah, so the capstone's exactly like that. We did, we went and made, got it to be VS, just stuff like that.
So where'd the name come from? Like, why do you guys call it vertical shift? Any specific reason?
Yeah. So, we actually had a chat channel with our team that we would just brainstorm ideas for the name of the game. Maybe I still wish I could go find that channel. Maybe if I go talk to Discord, they have it archived somewhere. But we just threw it down there, and we did something called All Hands every 2 weeks, where we'd meet in person. And when we were on campus, it was a lot easier. You know, like bring over some like, you know, cheese dip beer or something. We'll just chat about how we want to continue this game. And so we had one where we went down and tried to decide, all right, well, what does this game need to be called? And like I of course this typically happens to me, but I gave out some of my what I wanted to call the projects and they all got shot down. But basically vertical shift is just kind of what won the vote and got the approval from me and Sean. Vertical shift, it's kind of one of those like, okay, well, in this game you go up, vertical shift. And it just so it was just kind of one of those things. I forgot what else. I could go find there was one that I got absolutely bullied by my friends for one game. I can't remember that exact moment.
Yeah.
But they wouldn't be friends without doing that. So it was just kind of like
yeah, that's pretty funny.
I know Sean still gives me a bunch of crap about it. I'm really trying to remember what it was. I know he would probably remember it immediately if he's. But yeah, vertical shift. We just kind of came down to like it makes sense.
Yeah,
it kind of fits the title. I know Sean and some others, they were really into, because this is a sci-fi game, with the game starting with certain letters, so like X and Z and I think Q and some. Like there was some random requirements like that, and then we just kind of kept picking at it. We didn't have any timeline, so we just kind of threw them in as we kind of thought about it. And every now and then we kind of look at the list and be like, "Oh yeah, I like this one," and then we just kind of all came to terms with vertical shift and went with it.
Very interesting. Yeah, now that I think of it, you do go up and you're shifting around. Yeah, I would love to see some of those spitball ideas. That there's got to be one point in time, I guarantee, in that decision making that people are just all jokes. You didn't even care anymore for a second, just joking about names. Like, was there ever an instance where you're just like, I'm just gonna throw this out to throw people off, just like, all right, here's a name.
Yeah, basically, and that's what that chat was for. And I feel like it's chaos theory.
Chaos theory.
Yes, and I got shot down for it. It was just a random name. The game wasn't as defined as it was now, but like, it was, to me, the game was super chaotic going around, and so before the origin of the EMP blaster and the story, like early on, my ask, or what I wanted is I wanted to be able to slap my friends in VR. And so the thing is, you'd be grappling and jetpacking, you'd come up and wham on one of your friends, and that would tag them. It's traditional freeze tag.
Yeah.
But we determined it was super hard.
Yeah.
And so that's where the EMP blaster came in to give players a little bit more room for error. Kind of coming, and that's something we can control. And so in my head, it was just a chaotic flying around, slapping each other. And I was like, yes, chaos. And Sean shot it down super quick. And then eventually Vertical Shift came up.
Chaos Theory. I wonder if I can imagine your game being Chaos Theory.
I don't know if I could anymore with how defined it is. But like before, I could totally still hold my ground on it. But now, no, Vertical Shift was the right way to go.
Yeah, now that, even when you like, man, I don't even remember how I even met you, to be honest. I think one day we were just, I joined a Discord or something happened.
Yeah, so I think I still know. So Chandler, which is Hugh, runs, we all kind of take a hands on our Twitter, but Hugh just spends a lot of time on it. And so he was messaging out, trying to find VR orgs. And I think he either messaged you or Mystic or something like that. One of y'all joined, and then I just got chatting with one of you guys. There's like, honestly, probably 3 or 4 of you guys I kind of chatted at the time, and then eventually it just kind of went up chain, and I got in conversation with you, and then we just kind of started chatting away. I know me and Mystic probably chatted for 3 days, like 3 hours a day or something, just talking about the game. We even might have hopped in together. I know I played with Mystic a little bit.
Yeah.
You might have been there with me, I think. It was just like we just kind of did like a private room and swung around all the game modes a little bit, maybe 1 or 2 days after that.
Yeah, so I do remember that now. It was through Mystics because he literally just contacted me about your game, and I'm just like, I've never heard of it, and he taught me how to download it and everything, and that was the first day I played that game, and I've never been just like all over the place swinging around, and I kid you not, I have not till this day sweated more in any other game than the game when I play your game. Like when I play your game, like I have to be like having cold towels on me because I'll just be drenched in sweat because there is no stop, especially when you're doing freeze tag. Like it is nuts.
Yeah, it goes absolutely crazy because it's full body. I mean, it's full body. I mean, you're looking above you, behind you, around. I need to get myself where I put one of these GoPros or something in the corner of my room and go play Vertical Shift and show people, because I've been flying. I probably have thousands of hours in it by now. And it's just, what it looks like from my perspective, just sitting there, just going, you look ridiculous, and it comes across the game looking, super cool. But in reality, it's super funny to watch in person.
Oh, every once in a while, my wife will come to me with a great video she recorded of me playing VR and stuff. And the one that really gets me is that I hear even people laugh about me doing it because half the stuff I do, I stream, right? Yeah. And I'll be playing ping pong, and like I play in this kind of confined area where I kind of started knowing exactly where everything is at just because I've been there for so long. But every once in a while, I'll catch a lamp or a freaking side of a wall, and you just hear me just like start cussing up a storm. And like, what just happened? I'm just like, I just hit something so hard.
Oh man!
Like I was playing your game one time, and it had me so turned around that I thought my computer was in front of me, and I just go right into the wall that's behind me that you can see while I'm streaming.
I've only hit the wall maybe a few times. I don't know if I got hit or Sean got hit in the face once when we were doing in person, just playing around, and nothing like just like walking by the room and someone goes to grapple something and someone's just walking right through and they just absolutely pelted in the face. I've gotten a picture from one of our community, one of our players. He sent me a picture where he actually punched his monitor out while playing our game, which was very interesting because we're not like not doing this a whole lot in the game. Maybe swinging.
Yeah, you're pulling in. Like you're pulling.
That's true, but like you actually. So for me, when I play, it's all about the velocity of the controller. Like you don't need a whole pull. You can actually just kind of get away with this. It's just how quick you can get up to that velocity for a yank. See, I even hit my chair.
Oh, geez, you see me. I fall on pole.
Yeah, it's just boom. And so, like, you can absolutely do that. We're going for, like, the super immersed experience, but as well as, like, you can, I sit there and I'll be playing. I was like, all right, we're going. Kind of look like I'm, like, swatting something away.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I felt bad. I was like, never thought I'd be the creator of a game that caused someone to break their equipment. But I guess VR is a whole different story.
Yeah, because, like, a lot of people, I've seen some people play and like it really, I don't know if it's just me as a personal person, but like it bugs me when people use the analog stick to move around because that makes me more sick than any gameplay style ever. Like I cannot.
You're gonna hate me.
So is that the way you play? Like,
so I play on the date speed. If you go into the game and turn it all the way up, you can spin like 400. Well, here's the deal: if I've already been in the game and see it collapse from bugs when I build it, like over time, right? And then of course we fix them. I've seen I feel like I've seen most graphical things that there is. I just know, all right, I'm in my room, my feet are planted to the ground, the spinning does nothing. I know where I am. Mm-hmm. And so after you get past that mentality where you're like, all right, I'm immersed in this game, but I'm in my room upstairs, then it just stops affecting you. Like you still get the experience, but it just stops like nausea and stuff like that. And so
yeah, but
it can't help.
Is there any way to get rid of the motion blurriness? Like, I wish there was an option to like no motion blur.
So there is no motion blur in our game.
So must just be my eyes? Because any game I play, because I don't know how VR works when it comes to motion blur or anything like that, but it's almost like I'm in at the park on that one thing that freaking rotates like this, where they'll start spinning around and the whole entire world is just like going nuts. That's what I see in the game. But compared to like me turning around in real life, I don't get that.
Yeah, so I don't know if I've seen motion blur used a lot in VR because I mean that is kind of I don't know, being on like whatever what are the laughing gas they give you when you go to the dentist or something like that. Mm-hmm. And it's like you turn your head and you kind of feel like no one wants that. It doesn't feel good. So I feel like VR is meant to be snappy.
Yeah.
And so like if I do this, I expect it to be right looking there. And if there's a little delay when I go down, I would probably throw up.
Yeah. So that's just because it moves too fast. Like I think it's just because I don't like going faster than what I know I can do in real life.
And that's actually the key component there. So, and this can go into a lot of kind of like early theory we were thinking about when making this game. People know how to walk. People know what it feels like to run. People know what jumping feels like. Some people know what slight falling feels like. Mm-hmm. No one knows what grappling and jetpacks feel like. So their body doesn't get affected by it. However, when you do fast rotation in VR, and you rotate in the VR, but your body doesn't move, your body knows what turning your head feels like, and it doesn't feel like normal, so it starts freaking out.
Yeah.
And so that's what makes the jetpacks and grapples and gliding kind of interesting. But when something as such as simple as joystick rotation can throw people off sometimes.
Yeah, and like just with that, like with you saying, like people interacting with how they feel about things in real life, like you never jetpacked, ever swang, or you never really jumped from something tall. And it's like, I even get this playing like 2D games on the PlayStation. Like sometimes if I'm like, oh, what's that game? It's a Battle Royale. It's
Fortnite, Apex.
Apex. So Apex was the very first game that because you have no fall damage, so you can jump from high things. And I can't tell you how many times I would jump and I'd get that butterfly just right in the gut. And there's some games in VR, especially like your game for the first time playing it. I didn't get it so much in the arena or doing the racing, but we were in the city when I would go really high up and then try and go, I would get that pit feeling like, oh, I'm falling.
It's interesting. I would love to go back because I remember having those experiences. Like I don't know. I mean, it's been 3 years at this point, but the first time we were flying around, I was still kind of new to VR. We were flying, like basically all of the do this because like a big company isn't going to want to spend $1 million on a mechanic. Don't know if people are going to react too well or not. Our game in my mind originally, I didn't want to build something for entry level VR players. Yeah, I wanted to build something that is now over time we've made all those adaptations. We've done all the theory. We've done all the looking into it to make sure it's very accessible to players. But originally, I even remember like this is early stages, like the first 2 months of development over 3 years, and
Mm-hmm.
this was before like it was just me and Sean just kind of dabbling around in Unity, landing on platforms. Like there was kind of like just freak out when you land, and even coming from us, but you do get used to it over time, or like as either a VR user or just playing the game.
Yeah.
Um, but it's very interesting. I wonder if I went back to played the game, how I felt about VR then, now, what I would think.
Yeah,
Um,
correct. Well, it's almost like the first time I played Echo, like was the very first game that was kind of just everywhere. And I remember I didn't grab onto something properly, and I ducked in real life. I almost fell over because I'm just like, that is in my face.
I freaked out once. So I was built. This is another one of those crazy projects. I built it's like an angry janitor simulator. I was bored. I don't know. But basically you had an office
Uh-huh.
and you had to set up the office before your boss came in and fired you. And you
Nice.
worked as an IT tech. So you have to set up like the computer monitors, the towers, pick up the trash. And I just built it in Unity. I was trying to learn different things, interactables. How do I check in a game scenario that all my objects are in the right place, right? And
Yeah.
so there was a desk in VR, to which I dropped a keyboard under in
Mhm.
VR, to which I went under, grabbed the keyboard in VR, looked up, saw my head was about to hit the desk, and freaked out. There was no desk. And I'm building the game.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of like, when you put going to do stuff like that, something you're not used to, it's just kind of like, oh God, what am I doing? And then it comes to the realization you're sitting there watching.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, there's been times in population where I'll be having a snipe battle with somebody,
Mhm.
and there's sometimes you could see the bullet come right at your head, and there's been times where I'm just straight Matrix, and you just see this thing go, phew, I'm just like, holy cow! Or like even some nights I play 11, which I'm a huge 11 player with ping pong, and there'd be sometimes people will spike that ball straight back in my face, and it just makes me just like, holy cow.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's crazy. Definitely. So you definitely have to really look into it for like motion sickness because yeah, like it would stink that if you build this huge game and everyone's getting sick playing and they just don't want to play it.
Absolutely. That's something we had to look at very early. And thankfully most of our, I guess, feedback has been pretty good.
Yeah, and it's I've never had like a bad experience. It was just you're moving around so much. You just need about an hour to just like sit there and just fly around and do it really slow. And then as you get better and you know the controls, then you can start doing it faster. That's what I went right into it with people who've been playing for hours, and I was trying to keep up with them, and I'm just like, oh wow.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's definitely something like that. Like I remember, I think Green is, let me find this username. We have a guy in our Discord who plays like he's not a dev. He's just been a community member for a while. And it was when he was actually played in that tournament, I think maybe versus y'all, and then Green Shadow Boy. Those two are probably some of the best non-devs that I've run across that have given me a run for my money. And I'm just kind
Yeah.
of like, hey, I've played this game for 1,000 hours. You can't be doing this. And so I am looking forward to the time where we lose the oh my gosh the devs are so good to wow the devs are trash. Everybody's better than them. I would love to have a situation like that.
Yeah.
Where everybody just comes and starts beating me at my own game.
Has anyone found any like exploits yet? Or, like anything that kind of gives them an upper advantage when they're playing at a competitive level?
So at a competitive level, no. At a level itself of just like, oh, we used to do run play tests weekly.
Mm-hmm.
We had a weekly play test, 7 o'clock. Probably ran that pretty consistently for like a year, especially earlier on. And someone would, well, if I stick my head to the right and then press the back stick on this corner here, I go behind the mesh and end up here, and I can tag but can't be tagged. I'm like, okay, write that down. We'll go check at it. Then I got to figure out, is it a coding problem? Is it a geometry problem? Is it just something in VR that we need to take an account for that you can do that you don't do in normal games? And so there's a lot of stuff like that. I want to send a video to you. I'll probably send it to you after but we
Okay.
had the evolution of Tag Map HQ, which is the main competitive freeze tag map. And it used to have stairs. So, you know, those big open holes, like where the
Yeah.
scoreboard in the lobby. Yeah. So there used to be stairs going down to the bottom. Why I put stairs there, I had no. Originally, it was supposed to be a headquarters, not like a stadium. So, like, I
Yeah.
took like space station headquarters and like, you know, all the computers and stuff. And then they just never ended up being there. And it just turned into a stadium. I was like, oh, okay. But those stairs people could hide behind because they're separate meshes, but they would get stuck behind them. So people would go hide behind them as the last one standing once they got a point ahead, and then
Yeah.
they just wouldn't get tagged, run out the clock. And I'm just like, all right, well, we got to get rid of this, and stuff like that. So there has been like, I'm just general QA testing in all of our game modes. So there definitely has been like exploits found, but
Yeah.
at a competitive level, by the time we have something out, we try and keep all those out.
So you're gonna have like arenas for tag?
Yes. So I've actually already built another map, probably 2 or 3 months ago.
Awesome.
It's just we haven't got it connected to our system yet because you know, if I build a map, I then got to get it into the network map pool, and then it has to get into the UI as a button. So it goes through like 4 people once it's been done.
Mhm.
So I haven't even gotten a chance to test it yet. But I could probably shoot over some sneak peek pictures for yourself later that no one else gets to see. But I don't know. I'll see. I gotta go find them. But yeah, I've made there is a new arena map, and I would love there to be a bigger map pool. But it just kind of at the moment comes down around to where can we spread our resources. But people rather have good maps with a broken game or a good game with a few less maps.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's the same way how Large Nuts is doing. You know, a lot of people want more maps, more characters, but it's at the moment it's just like they need to fix actual physical properties of the game and not give you more content. And so, you know, what's that saying? Quantity over quality.
Yeah. Some
Quality over quantity. I said that backwards.
It's okay.
But yeah, is there anything else you want to talk about Vertical Shift, or you have any questions for me? I mean, I wish I had a timer on how
we started basically. Well, I mean, your uptime.
Oh yeah, we start at 5 every day, so we've been at about an hour.
Let's see, is uptime a thing I can do? Yeah, an hour and 15 minutes is about where you're sitting at. Which isn't too bad. Yeah, I mean, I had a little notes, but as far as Vertical Shift, we got some plans in the very, very, very soon future that we're gonna talk about and probably be released soon. And then we have dev plans out through the next year. So a lot of stuff in play. Some stuff has been in development for like 5 to 6 months.
Yeah,
that is actually planned to go out like later than now. So we got plans to bring it to it. We want to make this game up to the same level that a lot of the bigger studios are releasing at. And so we're just kind of curating and iterating as much as we can on it.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. So when you said you're trying to get it up there to be like a top game, right? There's nothing you ever have to like rebuild. Is it just adding on or?
There's been stuff we have to rebuild. Sometimes we'll, you know, what we want to do is changing. Like say a certain system was built to handle stuff a certain way, and it worked for its use case, but our use case changes, and now the way we want to use it has a terrible flaw. All right, well now we got to rewrite the entire system and how it works.
Mm-hmm.
There's been some. Let's see. I'm trying to think of exactly. I know at a point like Sean rewrote the entire game manager system, and that system managed every game mode, every map, and like just the overall stuff there. And he made it through that revision. He made it more modular.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, in that case, you know, we spent more time writing code we've already written, but it's going to make kind of the iterative and additive process super, super simple when it goes forward. So there is absolutely sometimes times when it comes to rebuilding. I mean, the city has seen probably 4 iterations of itself. And you know, of either new art, how we, you know, whether or not each building its own game object, or if we mesh all of these into like 8 different game objects so we can turn them all on and off so optimization works for it. So it's just, there's a lot of stuff that goes on in the background that like some people put months into, and it's also, you don't see any change except it's better experience. And so there is a lot of stuff sometimes that has to be rewritten of your, you know, maybe code that was written 3 years ago that was for different like task, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh well, we need to, oh, I want to add in, customizable trails or the ability to do customizable trails, or I want to
Yeah.
set something up so I can save my settings up in our cloud so I can log in on my friend's device and they come down. They're not just stored locally. All right. That's like two systems that have to be written, right?
Yeah.
And then it comes down to a lot of balance between, how can I spend time? Like what's more important? Do I care about colored trails that live on the local machine, or do I want post-match reports that tell the players how they did? Like it's just kind of like a lot of balance and kind of thinking about what type of features will benefit the players sooner.
Yeah. So what's your like? Say if someone was looking for a new game, like what would make someone really pick your game out of the bunch? Like, what is your kind of genre of like, hey, if you like XYZ, this is why you like me.
Yeah, so I kind of think of those tags like as like tags in my head. Like, well, these games have these tags. Our game also have those tags. So, and in my head, I mean, anyone looking for a competitive team game or just a competitive game in general, that's obviously in VR. I mean, we're a grappling game. So anybody that wants, like, there's a lot of first person shooters out there. First person shooters have proved a lot of success in the back, like from any console, any platform. That's great. Some people get tired of first person shooters after a while. They want to do something else in the first person perspective. So, our game sticks out of being, we are a casual, we're not a casual, but like sorry, I'm losing track of my words. But like our core game mode is like freeze tag. It's team-based freeze tag that most people know from their childhood or have seen somewhere. And so it's really easy to kind of pick up those rules and be like, all right, tag them all before they tag all of us.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you can take that and run with it as much as you want. And so the entry floor gets lowered when you kind of have stuff like that. So an easy to get into team-based competitive game, I would kind of say. If people feel like, so like Echo Arena, people that kind of like the team stuff in Larcenauts and Population One, stuff like that, want to bring their team into a different environment, different play style, our game would kind of fit right there for them.
Yeah, and so say a person just got a VR headset and they want to play your game, right? They don't have any friends and stuff. So how would they go in and play with somebody just to, because it's team based. A lot of people are like, oh, I might have to come in with a whole group of 4 to 6 people that I already know that want to play this. Like, how do they jump in with other players just like having a good time?
Yeah, so I mean, when you open up the game, we have like this prompt that comes up. It's like, would you rather play online or offline? So that's kind of the first thing. If you click online, or if you want to start online, it actually takes you to an already populated room.
Really?
If you click offline, it just that big old 3 monitor kind of apparatus there. But if you click that online, it's going to take you to a room that has a spot that already has people in it, and it might be any of the game modes. And so from there, you can always leave and go make your room. But if you click offline there's a board on your left that kind of shows all the rooms already. So it's kind of the old style of like, with that matchmaking, the casual matchmaking queuing is kind of there by online, but you can kind of go browse the rooms. Oh, there's 5 people here. They're playing Infection. That sounds fine. Join. Oh, they're playing Tag and they have 5 people. They need 1 more. I'll join that one. Click. And so they do kind of get to browse on the left side if they don't want to just automatically join something. And that's kind of been what we're kind of our attempt to kind of go after that, to get players with others as quickly as possible.
Yeah. So that's pretty interesting. I do like that way where you can see it. You guys do have a story mode, right?
Yeah, that's our campaign kind of in the city. You play the quests and there's a semi-order. Basically, there's like a quest and then unlocks some more quests. And then you do all of those quests to unlock the last quest. And so we do kind of have a kind of thing right there. Our story goes pretty in depth of just like the world and the environment and why everything is the way that it is and stuff like that. That's all kind of be there to be explored.
So there's some formality of a lore, right?
Yep.
So do you have a lore writer there? I always find it funny when some people come into Discord and stuff that just like create lores for the company themselves. Like, oh, this is how this world is like that. And I'm just like, that always cracks me up.
Yeah, I mean, we do actually have a lore writer that kind of does our overarching kind of story, and we'll sit with him, and maybe Sean will have an idea, or I'll have an idea, and we're just kind of like, I don't know how to put this into words,
Yeah.
so I'm just going to say this, and he's like, oh yeah, this is how that happens. We're like, all right, cool. And then some, but yeah, we do have kind of a main lore writer that kind of works with some other story writers on the side, and they kind of help generate content for us. And a lot of that will be kind of coming in future updates and stuff. A lot of it's already in the game, but we've been working on a kind of new chunk.
Yeah, and so you're gonna expand on that story. You're gonna have like characters that might be of like the pinnacle of the game of like, hey, this is like the will you eventually have a character selection or a character creation?
They do have those kind of pinnacle characters already in the game as NPCs that hand out missions and that you can find around the city. Some of our updates kind of put more in depth or more depth into them. As far as character customization, we've already taken steps into it for probably 4 months or so. But I mean, that's going to do a little bit of everything. We want character customization, and that kind of makes it, we got to build it so it networks across so everybody can see it. It's no longer just changing that one model across. I don't know if you happen to play before that, but you used to be able to choose your model and then the color that
really?
went on it. And we took that out to kind of get in place this new system. So character customization's on the way. We all had customized art that we got contracted out. Came out super well. The main character that you see now, the green with the hood and the red exosuit or the Xena suit, that's kind of the default character of our new kind of push on characterization. Those 3 other characters on that title card were all made with not the customization itself, but they used art assets that could be used. So like the 4 colors, and then like you can change your hairstyles. You'll be able to change your kind of like suit, Xena suit colors, cool. Your pants, shoes. So we have all that in play. It's just kind of a lot of stuff we want to think about. So like if we want to put a store and like, you can either earn it through playing the game, or if you want to just, throw some money at it, you can. And so like kind of making stuff, all of those systems work is kind of what's been going on in the background, but that's something we have been working on.
So you, are you ever going to go through the new favorite thing that people have been trying to do is like battle passes? Like every game has a battle pass, or some type of niche of that. Are you going to lean towards that and give people like actually a reason to actually go and play randomly at all times just to keep them coming back?
So the battle pass itself is not something we've talked about. We have plans for kind of items that you can purchase or by earning. Like, so basically you'll be earning by playing the game. So based off your performance, you can earn some coins, stuff like that. Or again, always just kind of buy the coins yourself. You can do either. But the incentive will be we kind of have these kind of daily stats and stuff we want to do. Right now we have some weekly ones set up. But the battle pass itself, we have not talked up in any detail, but it's not ruled out at all, I'd say.
Mm-hmm.
But we are in the push of how can we make the stuff more competitive, bringing you back. So like something we've talked about and planning on is we want to bring leaderboards to all of our missions. And so now you kind of have this.
That'd be cool.
What's it? Not asynchronous competitive play. So like, so and so. Yeah. So you can speed run the race course or something like that. And so you get your name up on the board in the top 20 and stuff like that. I say so. We've made some pushes for things in that regard, but battle passes we haven't dived into yet. That we'd have to build a whole system for it.
Oh, really? So I do like some type of objective though. When I go into a game, that's the number one thing I really see is like what's going to make me come back and really enjoy it. Yeah, you might have like those fun story modes, but it's like once you beat the story, it's over. But absolutely. Unlike your game that is at a competitive level, there's multiple scenarios with it. I like it because I have a whole bunch of my buddies that play it, and is it a really good game? But also, if I'm just playing by myself, my friends aren't there, then what's keeping me there? Which when you have objectives, like weeklies, dailies, like there's multiple games that I don't typically play that much, but I will get on to do the daily.
It's definitely something to think about. As far as timeline, I mean, I could totally see it kind of getting put in over time because dailies and stuff like imagine some today, or like, win 3 games or run out of jetpacks 3 times in a row, something like stuff like that. Could totally be dailies, because all we have to do would be compile a list and then just kind of have an algorithm that kind of which ones to monitor, and then award XP or level ups or any stuff like that.
Yeah, it'd be kind of funny to have like a counter of how many times you freaking pull out your sling thing.
Yeah, we've there's actually, when I started tracking stats, I started tracking too many stats that I had to back down for our current I guess description into our database. And so I actually had to kind of tone down what I could track, and I was going to track everything. Like as far as just like how the player. So he's like, I'm one of those that like looking at my stats. So it's like, oh, for every 1,000 grapple hooks you throw out, you miss like 100 of them. Okay, thanks for telling me that. I'm bad now. And so I like looking at those stats, and I had a whole document, like a Word doc of them listed. And I just kind of ended up having to choose like 25 of them and running with that. And so
that's
a lot of stuff like that is where we're going.
So can only you see those stats, or can other people see those stats too?
No, most of those stats have turned into leaderboards.
Okay.
Right now the leaderboards are good, or right now I would have to keep my timeline of what's public, what's beta, and what's on my computer. Yeah. So like basically the overall plan is the leaderboards, you're going to be able to view them at the location where you earn them. So like the drone destroyer leaderboard, you can view at the drone destroyer place, and like the race leaderboards by the NPC that gives out the race mission. And as far as like freeze tag stats and stuff, you can view in the freeze tag room. Works of putting like a big long list where you can just view all your stats like that. As far as like a main like panel, just list all my stats on the screen, we had something like that, but we've taken it out for the moment because the leaderboard is more responsive with people.
Yeah, and have you ever thought about instead of having an on-rolling leaderboard, starting it every month or a season, or?
Yeah, so like we don't have like dedicated like seasons out. It's like your season is a way to track. We don't want to lose people's stats past the season, so that means we have to find a way to store all that, because basically it's just, again, it's all about writing systems. Like, yeah, that sounds great, we'd love to do it, but now I got to write a system that exports all of the stats player into some type of probably form of JSON that we can still pull and still show players if they want to see it. And because now you're looking at, oh, that was 25 stats. Well, that's technically 50 stats, or I have to maybe take a snapshot of all my stats and store it away and bring it up only after. And that's something that could, be done. But again, those are all systems that have to be written, which take time. So it just kind of comes down to the balance of what we can do. But I like those suggestions that have been kind of made about like being able to view seasons. We did weekly resets for a little bit. We might expand them to be monthly. I do like the idea of being able to go out and kind of view old stats, but that then kind of comes into, having to get that designed in the UX and where does that go, and kind of things like that. I know like in 3D, like traditional games, like we can just kind of course there's always UX design in it, but it's easier to throw in a tab or arrow that just says, all right, what about season 1 stats, beta stats, and just kind of press it. But a lot of time in VR, especially the fact that like you're pointing and physically moving, you have to think about it a lot of where you got to put things.
Yeah, so that's very interesting. So is there anything else you want to add to it? Because I know we went over the game modes, we went over the campaign you can play, basically how to get it. I mean, if anything, if you want to do a round table again of basically just to remind people who are watching this where they can find you, Discords, obviously, I did put a link on this. I'm going to put the link again.
Okay.
That tree.
Absolutely.
But yeah, if you want to do a little like thing, just basically telling people who you are again with the game, and if anything else you want to add, really, like like I said, this is my very first one that we're doing here, and I really don't know. Like, I know how to start it, but like when you get to the point, it's like, how do you really end it? Like, when do you find a good point to end something?
That's fair. That's just sometimes you can follow the kind of just natural flow of conversation where we've kind of gone through everything we care to talk about.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's all right there. Yeah. So again, I'm Ben. I'm with Vertical Shift, VP of content. And you can kind of find me. My Discord itself is Ben with the #0002. Verticalshift.net/links is a good place, and we'll throw all those in Twitch. We hang out in our Discord. We basically answer every single person that ever asked us a question. You can find all of our game download stuff in there too. But I'd probably stick it around just like that. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, if you have any questions for me, but before we kind of wrap this up, but like I say, this is VR Jungle. Basically, the whole entire concept of the name is basically, we're in a crazy little jungle in this VR world, so I'm just trying to get you guys through it. Just bringing people in like you. I'm going to be bringing, devs of games, people that compete in games, content creators, anything with VR, and I might bring out some other people that I've dealt with before, like where I get my jerseys from right here. I was thinking about bringing out one of their
Playmakers Wanted or something like that.
So he's a pretty cool dude. He said he might have someone that wants to come be on here, and they can talk about like how the jersey company got started, and just because I'm on a competitive level, so I want people to be able to look competitive and stuff. So especially like even when if people didn't know this, Ben actually won a jersey from me, and so I thought that was funny because he actually told me he was going to win it, and I go, "You're no way you're going to win it." And then I emailed somebody, and I don't know if you used a fake name or that was your name or something. I thought I blew my.
It's probably what the Ibanez that email that was my email that I used for random things, and I was just like, yeah, I'll use that.
Yeah, and so I emailed him, and then you're like, "I'm Ben from Vertical Shift." And I'm like, "No way!" And then he ended up hooking you up with. I don't know if anyone knows this, but or if you want to even release it. But what happened is that you might be getting 2 jerseys.
Yep.
So
he let me design a Vertical Shift jersey as well, so I'm looking forward to either putting that up on the wall right behind me so you can see it, and just or wearing it out whenever I can.
I'm pretty excited to see it too, because once he messaged me that, and I got to message you that, you're just like, I can't remember what you were just having a really good day, or you just
it was a great day, yeah. It's like not only did I win a jersey, I'm getting another jersey for Vertical Shift, which is dope because even like a year or two ago, I was throwing them on. It's like, hey guys, when we're big, and this was like a couple months ago, when we're big, we're gonna have a big jersey, and this is what some of our teams can win and stuff like that. And it was just to have kind of see one get put in place was really cool.
Yeah,
very rewarding.
I don't think you even showed me the design yet, so I'm really excited to see.
Have I not? Oh man, I have to go find it. I definitely
don't think you showed me. You had like several ideas because you sent me like the whole wall, and we were going through, and I go, maybe that one looks good, but I never got to see the actual finalized item that you picked.
I'll have to go find it.
Have you showed your team yet about it? Because I thought
no, I'm just gonna show. I'm gonna show it up wearing one day.
Oh, that's funny.
I think it's. I know your Discord. You're not going to screen share, but I just to it by browsing for images about basically which one's going to be.
Yeah.
But yeah, I could probably go on a whole thing about curious about how Havoc started, but I know we're already like an hour and a half in, so maybe that should be saved for another one of your weeks where you just have someone come interview you.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, we've been around, for a while. I'm not going to go in the full deal. Like I said, I could talk. I know you could probably talk about yours. I could talk about mine. It's the lovely thing about bringing in people that have not only passion for something, but they actually like truly care about the community alone. Because half the people I'm going to be bringing in here, they care about VR as a whole. Like obviously, you have your game. I have my esports organization. But I've always liked people the most when it's just like, it's not about themselves. It's like, let's make something big because it's the future. It's almost like the first time you ever played VR, you're just like, this is the next step. Okay. And then you're like, I want to make something to be part of that next step. And that's one thing that I really look forward in a person when it comes to like just becoming friends with them in the VR world, because it's kind of weird to think like I have probably more VR friends that I hang out with virtually than I probably have in my real life.
Yeah.
So it's a cool concept that you're going to meet people like Mystics. He's from England, and he's a very chirpy, got a crazy accent, and I became really good friends with him. And it's just like, without VR, that would have never happened. I would never find a connection with a person like I have in VR compared to playing a PlayStation 4 game with a group of people I play Call of Duty with.
Yep.
Because it's almost like you're there. You can see your hands moving. You guys, I can't. Like, there's been plenty of times in VR chat where things get a little crazy.
I played VR chat was one of those free games, so I was just like always in it for a little bit. And I was like, wow, this is kind of weird, but it's kind of fun. It's kind of weird. And then you like meet like 100 people, and you're just like, oh, hey guys,
Oh
and
yeah.
stuff like that. So it was always great.
At first, I didn't really care for it. It just kind of felt weird. But then once you start getting into VR, you're just like, oh, this is natural. This is just fun.
Absolutely. Well, I do appreciate the invite for coming up here and letting me talk about what I've been working on with you. I've really appreciate it. It's been really enjoyable.
Oh yeah, like I said, I wanted you to be my number one, kind of my starting point because I'm like this guy is the forefront of making. You have passion in development, you have passion in the game, and it kind of stinks. It's like people want to go for these. Like, stop doing that. Like you have the a game that could be very competitive. It's already proven in the tournaments that I've seen and I've watched and I've even played. Like it's probably more competitive than, in my opinion, Population One when it comes to it. I'm not going to start narking on like what's better or not, but it's just at a forefront of a competitive level that's going to make me sweat like straight out. Like I had to take off all my clothes because I was sweating so much. Like that right there, I know is going to be a good game because. But everyone's going to have, their ups and downs with it. And so, like, from here, maybe one day you'll be back on here again and you can explain, even more into depth when who knows. But
Absolutely.
I really appreciate you being on this. I don't think there's anything else, like, I can really go into it with this. Thanks, everyone, for watching VR Jungle. This, like I said, this is issue number 1. I have a couple people in mind for issue number 2, for episode number 2, but we'll see. I don't know who can top this. I'll just have to always see who can top the next one or not. But Ben, always a pleasure. Thanks for coming. I'm gonna go ahead
sir, I appreciate it.
and end my stream.
Alrighty.